Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you today. Wow, what are we talking about? Many of us felt that the civil rights gains, really, this 400-year journey that we've been on, that they'd been won. The battles were over. No, no, no. This gentleman who is with us today, opening up the show, reminds us that the torch has been passed to yet another generation. And he will pass it on to another generation because the struggle continues and victory is certain if the struggle continues. We see this DEI sweep: diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay, what is that? It's not a law, it's an aspiration. E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. That is the aspiration of the United States. And so, in this DEI sweep, this purge, we're seeing at Arlington National Cemetery no mention of Jackie Robinson, of Medgar Evers, of the Navajo code talkers who are credited with helping to turn the tide of the Second World War, the Ira Hayes, the indigenous soldier who is on that statue of Iwo Jima, symbolizing all of the contributions of indigenous soldiers to our war efforts and to the building of the nation. Indeed, it is their land. And now we heard something yesterday that was absolutely stunning. And I'm going to let this brilliant gentleman who has been mentored by really the best, and he is making Adam Clayton Powell, Reverend Dr. Bill Jones, Reverend Jesse Jackson so proud today. Of course, you can see him so many places. He's been fighting this battle since he was a child, preaching behind Mahalia Jackson at the age of 4, a young prodigy, and working for Reverend Jesse Jackson when he was 13. Okay, I'm not going to tell him. He's going to make my father look like he was abusing a child. But the Reverend Al Sharpton, it's so good to be with you today. This message that we heard yesterday, that the federal government will no longer explicitly ban federal contractors from having segregated facilities, restrooms, workspaces, housing, waiting rooms, drinking fountains. Oh my goodness. Reverend Sharpton, what is this? Is this for real?
It is very real to say that federal contractors no longer have to put segregated facilities as part of their agreement to a contract is to effectively give executive order for federal contractors that they don't have to obey the Civil Rights Act of 64. And clearly, you're dealing with the president who has already overturned Lyndon Johnson's Equal Employment Act of 66. So Donald Trump is being as clear as he can be that his role as president is to overturn the civil rights gains of the 60s. And we are, in my opinion, many of us are so stunned, but we better get to work because he clearly is giving every signal. To take Jackie Robinson, who was a Republican, by the way, and who is an American icon in every community, and take him off of the Department of Defense website, to take Charles Rogers, who was a decorated veteran of Vietnam. They took him off. They were on the website. They removed him. And as you said, the Native Americans, this is deliberate. It's too many cases of it to not be deliberate, but to make it clear on top of all of it was to say by their own statement that segregation no longer has to be in federal contracts. That is something that is absolutely unthinkable not long ago.
Well, you have been fighting for people of color, for women, for the LGBTQ plus community to get their fair share of federal contracts. What does this mean exactly?
It means that we need to bring this administration in the court right away. I've been on the phone with other civil rights organizations. We need to bring them in the court right away. We need to also put some real street heat on this. National Action Network's convention is in 2 weeks, and we're going to come out of there with callings for real direct action. Because let's remember, Santita, how we got those acts in the first place. Mm-hmm. They didn't wake up one morning and say, let's be nice to folks. We fought in the streets, in the courts, Thurgood Marshall, 54, Brown versus Board of Education, all the way to the Civil Rights Act, all the way to the Open Housing Act. So we've got to, that's why you need seasoned people and you need young people. This whole argument about new generation leadership, let's remember J.D. Vance ain't but 40 years old. Stephen Miller is 39. Mm-hmm. It ain't about a new generation. It's about what direction we're going, old or young. And I think that we in the civil rights and human rights community have a direct challenge. They've thrown the gauntlet down. The question is what we're going to do about it.
When you say going to court, what does that mean? I mean, because of course the legal arm of our struggle has been headed by the NAACP, but of course the National Action Network, Urban League, Operation Push, Rainbow Push, all of these organizations, Black Lives Matter, they can all be friends of the court in these briefs. You say it's that, but you say we also need street heat. Help me to understand that, because many people have, when I was in college in the 80s, people said they poo-pooed the idea of marching,
right,
organizing. They said, we don't need to do that. Oh my gosh. Within 10 years, people had these jobs and they couldn't move up.
And they then wanted us to march. They didn't understand the idea of marching has never been to solve a problem, it's to expose a problem. And you will never solve a problem or force those in power to solve them if you don't expose them. Marching is a means to an end to draw attention. If you don't draw attention and show that there is mass support for something, you'll never get it done, because politics is about numbers. So as you said, I grew up mentored by people like your father, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Reverend William Jones and others. So I learned that young, that the object is not the march, the object is what the issue is, but they will never talk about the issue unless you march and dramatize the issue. Let's remember, Jimmy Lee Jackson was killed in Marion, Alabama. They decided to protest the killing of Jimmy Lee Jackson. He was at a voter registration rally. Amelia Boykin said, let's march from Selma to Montgomery. There was little attention, little concern about a Voting Rights Act. Lyndon Johnson had told Dr. King that he didn't have the power to do a Voting Rights Act. He had just done the 64 Civil Rights Act. They marched across Edmund Pettus Bridge, got beaten tear gas. It was that beating and the drama of that march that led King to a 10-day march to Montgomery that got us the Voting Rights Act. We didn't lobby to get that. Same thing happened with the Civil Rights Act of 64, what people don't want to talk about, Santita. The March on Washington, 63, Dr. King's speech that they try to reduce to just the end of it, I Have a Dream, that didn't get the Civil Rights Act. It was after 250,000 people, black, white, Jew, Gentile, everybody, young, old, marched and showed unity. That caught everybody's attention. But a month later, they bombed 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham and killed 4 little girls, and people started marching in Birmingham. The bombing and the reaction is what made America move. Like George Floyd made America move, and they came out of it now 4 years later, 5 years later, saying, all right, we ain't gonna do DEI. They came up with DEI after George Floyd. You've got to know how to dramatize your issue if you want to make things move, and that's what we must do around what he is doing with these contractors and with DOD's web pages and with DEI. And I might say, because I'm on your show, my real mentor learning how to dramatize stuff was Jacqueline Jackson.
I'm going to tell her exactly what you said, because it is true. But here, what that having been said, before you go, I want to ask you about the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act, because we've seen the Voting Rights Act gutted in the Supreme Court. In this environment, can we see the same things, the same actions taken against the Civil Rights Act?
Absolutely.
Against these Great Society initiatives?
Absolutely. You can see it happen. They've shown with the numbers that they took in the Senate and in the House and in the executive branch.
Mhm.
It was a breath of fresh air that Roberts kind of took a shot yesterday, saying, "Wait a minute, you can't go at judges like that." But you can't depend on that. That is why those that said that they didn't see a reason to vote last year, or Democrats haven't done enough, and they haven't. But you do not open yourself up to an assault because you feel that the people that are supposed to be allied with you are inadequate, even though they've been mostly on your side. So yes, we can see that. And I think that we've got to now be very careful and very organized and very public about what we must do.
How can we attend your convention?
All you have to do is go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net. We have everybody from Ben Crump to Michael Eric Dyson to, you name chairman of the caucus, Congresswoman Yvette Clarke, Representative Al Green. As we have 8 attorney generals, state attorney generals coming. We're going to honor Patty LaBelle one night. Ben Crump is doing the criminal justice panel. The whole agenda is at www.National Action Network. It's 4.5 days. If you can't do all 4 days, you can do one. But register, because the people that register are guaranteed to see. It's free. And we last year had about 10,000. And we'll probably have more this year. We're expecting everybody to come.
Well, you know it. Before you go, I have someone that you've mentored. I know he's going to have a fit when I say that. Dwight McKee, who is one of the founders of Operation Push, Operation Breadbasket, National Action Network, of course, the dean of the Maafa Redemption Project. He wanted to say hello. Now you say hello to him, and we're gonna let you go because you know you all.
Well, I don't mind having been the opening act for Dwight McKee. He's helped to labor with me a long time.
Yes, he has. Dwight McKee.
Doc, you profound as usual and educational to a T. Everything you said was right on point.
Thank you, sir.
And first, let me thank you for having continued a lot of work that Santita's father, Reverend Jackson, started when I was young and involved. And secondly, let me thank you for your courage. Because right now you are a major target. You've always been for the last 30 years. And yet you keep on moving forward and taking us forward with you. So I want to thank you for all of those things, Doctor.
Well,
Dr.
I thank
Reverend.
you. And I thank Santita, the entire Jackson family, for really being patient with me and watching me grow up and help to shape and mold me and make me something that could try to be effective. And I mean that. And I mean that about Miss Jackson, who just had a birthday, March 17th. I keep telling all these people that we put on green and go down Fifth Avenue for Jacqueline Jackson.
You never miss giving her a call, and it warms her
That's
heart.
right.
Even after she beats you up, you still call her.
That's right.
That means she loves you. So thank you very much.
That's right. She only beat up those she loved.
That's right. Sending you so much love. Reverend Al Sharpton.
All right. Thank you.
Bless you. Convention again.
It's on April 2nd through the 5th, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and you can see the whole agenda.
And your radio show?
Is every day 1 to 4 on stations around the country and on Sirius XM 126. And we do it live stream on nationalactionnetwork.net.
And your MSNBC show?
Every Saturday and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Central Time, live every Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, now you know I'm gonna promote.
All right,
Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Rev, I'll talk to you after the show.
All right,
so much love. Let me bring on Attorney Mark Fancher. I know he only has a few minutes, but I want to know what your thoughts are, because this is a really, really big deal. When I saw the headline, Attorney Fancher, I had to read it several times. I said, well, I know I'm not seeing the right thing. And yet, here we are. What do you make of this?
Well, we have in the past spoken of the economic and social and political plight of white workers and their perception that they are feeling great insecurity, and that in many ways that contributes to their inclination to support the MAGA movement and all things associated with it. But I think that this most recent development is more symptomatic of the emotional state of particularly those who have bought into, either deliberately or unconsciously, into the notion of white supremacy. The very premise of that notion is that white people by nature are supreme. They are destined and ordained to be the leaders of humanity, that all other people are subordinate to them, inferior to them, and in fact, need their guidance and their protection. And the thing that has really threatened that notion, that premise, has been the continuing growth, the continuing development, the continuing victories of communities of color as they have continued to struggle over the generations. And it has, in many ways, has proven the basic notion of white supremacy to be a lie. And when you begin to, acknowledge the experiences, the victories, the triumphs of communities of color, then obviously you work against notions of white supremacy. And so when we see these things that are being done, the purging of the accomplishments of people in the of people of color in the military, and all the other attacks on DEI, it's easy to say that, or to think that this is just out of meanness. To a certain extent, it is, but it's also for purposes of affirming a self-delusion, that these are reminders of the fact that white supremacy as a doctrine is fundamentally a lie. And you have to get rid of those things. And when you start saying that that contractors no longer need to ensure integration, then on some level that's also saying that, look, if we create situations where it's only white people who are doing the work, it's only white people who are fundamentally in charge, then it helps to affirm for us the fact that what we've been saying about white people as being superior is correct. No one is able at this point to say that because we included people, that we ensured diversity, that we ensured equity, that that's the reason for success. You have to make America white again. It's not you make America great again by making America white again. And at bottom, that's what it's all about. And so everything that works against the idea of making America white again must be attacked.
Ariel Gold, as soon as I sent this out, I know you don't have a lot of time today, but you said yes immediately. Immediately. Were you surprised by this headline? Or not by the headline, and then when you read the story, you go, wait a minute, what?
There's so little, right, that surprises us these days. I also saw just in the past few hours that 175 million has been pulled from the University of Pennsylvania over their support for transgender rights. So this is really, an attack coming from so many angles. And Mark is so right. This is white supremacy. This is this idea that this country is built for white Christian men, and we are on a highway to fascism right now, about as quickly as we can go.
Well, I mean, it's like we're here. Mark, are you still there? Well, Lorraine asked a question of you and Ariel, and I just think it's fair that you speak to it. Attorney Fancher and Ms. Gold, you both on this show said you could not in good conscience vote for Kamala. What say you both now? And I'd like for everyone to weigh in on that, because I think there were a lot of moving parts here.
That actually wasn't me. I quite said the opposite and did vote for Kamala and encouraged folks to, one of the things that I find so disparaging in these times, and I find this so disparaging as somebody who's running a peace and justice organization, is that we have nobody to appeal to and we have no leverage in this administration. The war on Gaza has kicked back up, and boy, they are killing people as fast as they can. There are 130 children dead in the span of a day. And there's nobody to protest, right? Because we have just no leverage, and we have no allies in this administration. And as many issues as I had with the Harris campaign and with Harris, we would have had that in the White House. And had we not lost both chambers of Congress, we would have had some leverage and something there. So we're really scraping at the bottom of the barrel now. And I do think we would be in a different situation had Harris won the election.
Well, let me say this. Please go on. Okay, excuse me. If I just want to make this clarification, Lorraine. Ariel was not an uncritical supporter. And I think in that moment, many of us were very, very excited that, we did not, if you were not an uncritical supporter, we took that as a sign of something else. And even with the reservations that many people had with her stance on different policies, and I had them, I was all in. But Mark, please, you.
No, I just wanted to say I stand by the vote that my vote, my decision not to vote for Kamala Harris. What I think people sometimes fail to understand is that there are people in this world, and I'm one of them, who doesn't make political calculations, does not compromise. I do not compromise principles. And what I saw in Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party was a party and a candidate who would not forthrightly commit to ending the war in Gaza. They started it. I mean, they were complicit in starting it. They funded it. And there was no indication from Kamala Harris that if she won the presidency, that she was going to back away from the Democratic Party agenda. As an individual, she may have had opinions and positions that were different from the Democratic Party, but she was their candidate, and she had to carry out the marching orders that were given her by the Democratic Party. And anybody that was going to be complicit in the genocide of thousands and thousands of Palestinian people, I would not support, and will not support. And it doesn't matter to me that, that maybe with a different candidate, with a different party, there may have been less genocide. Any genocide, in my book, is unacceptable. And I would not change a thing about how I voted. That's the beginning and the end of that. I have no problems with it whatsoever.
Okay. Well, I wish we could have people call in, but, keep on responding, Lorraine, because, I hear you, but you can go back. All of my shows are there. That's not what I do not recall Ariel Gold saying that. She's been all in with the Democratic Party. She said, look, these are the options, and we went back and forth on that. These are the options. She did say that. But what she did not do was go into this uncritically, because Gaza was an issue. It still is an issue. A lot of things are at issue now. Dwight McKee, your thoughts before I bring in Linda.
I want to nuance what Mark said. is I don't think this is a racial situation. I think this is a class issue with racial implications. Is that when Trump started going back to the good old days, he didn't explain to white people how far back he was going. They didn't know he was going back to the Pullman plantation with white people on the plantation. This is a rich against the poor fight we having. And he's taking our money and their money and transferred it to his friends who are very, 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 very rich. He only used race to get the numbers playing on white people's insecurity and their need to think they were in charge. But the average white person don't have about as much power as we do, which is how come all of them have gotten laid off and gotten fired. The difference is we had to fight our way to the top or to however to the levels that we ended up. So we understand how to fight and understand the need to fight. Many of them haven't figured out yet that in order to renew their situation, they also have to fight and need to join us in the fight. And so once we understand this is a class war rather than a race war, then we'll know how best to fight. And that is to go after the goods and services and resources that make the rich rich. Elon Musk has paid a major price for his attitude. And I think he has lost about half the value of his stock. And by the time this is over, he would not be the richest man in the world because people will make him pay a price. Target is about to pay a price for them succumbing to the racism. So I say to white people, don't get caught up in the okie doke to think this is about us. This is about the rich against the poor.
And and I would urge us to understand that too. And Lorraine, Ariel is gone, but I will pass on what you've said to her. And I hear you, Lorraine. I mean, because a lot of people, Linda and Dwight, Attorney Linda Bernard, really, that it was Kamala's loss was a painful loss. But we, on our show yesterday, we told you that the first people who buried her was the person who was her president. No daylight kid, called her a kid. You got to be upset about that. About how he treated her he treated her as an underling, as someone who was less than. He did not try to help her win, Lorraine. That was a big problem. He did not allow her to create daylight between him and her, between his policies and hers. That absolutely hurt her. When Obama came after these black men, I don't think he meant any harm, but he did a lot of harm, and he didn't apologize, which hurt her even more. So let's keep it right. Let's keep it right here, but I think the big issue, Dwight McKee and Attorney Linda Bernard, is that the struggle has never ended. Many of us thought that the battles were over. I'm meeting people who have been very, very comfortable. Now, guess what? They're very uncomfortable. They've been disturbed because we really should never have been that comfortable in the first place, Attorney Linda Bernard. I know I could always count on seeing you at the push conventions every summer and seeing you in Detroit. I mean, whatever your political leanings, you always understood that, wait a minute, we've got a fight on our hands. And now this. So what do you make of this? I mean, now federal contractors are not required to not have separate waiting rooms.
I think that's much, quite frankly, Santita, I think it's much ado about nothing. Let me just say this to you. We're so far beyond separate waiting rooms and separate bathrooms. That's 60 years old. Nobody's going to go backwards, whether the rule is there or not.
I mean, no, Linda. I don't know about that.
It's not in anyone's interest. You spoke about people who want to get rich and who are getting rich. Capitalism mandates that none of that stuff return. Nobody wants to sink their own ship. That makes no sense. The reason that the Democrats, we've talked about this before, have so much trouble. I mean, when integration and affirmative action, as I said earlier, was about Black people, Hispanics, and women, white folks opened the door and we were all like one big happy family. When you started actually going against principles that were far deeper even than race, like what is a man? What is a woman? A man can cut off his genitals and he's just suddenly a woman and he's entitled to affirmative action because of that. That's when the divide started. You got to look at the cause. Everybody was hunky-dory until then. This push against affirmative action is really against that. It's not against us.
No, it is against us. And we're watching the numbers go down at Harvard, at Yale, at Princeton. We're watching the numbers go down. It is against us. It absolutely is against us. And they mean for it. Wiping Medgar Evers and Jackie Robinson off of the website for the American military. It's absolutely about us. It is. And this is a horrible thing. And I'm not saying that you think it's a horrible thing. You're from a military family like I am. But this is awful. Before I bring up Latasha Brown and Rush Darwish, I really think beyond the transgender issue, because that's relatively new. What's not new is separate drinking fountains, separate waiting rooms. There are some people who absolutely believe in that today. They do.
Where? And how successful can they possibly be? It's not going to work. We're too close now. Too many interracial marriages, too many everything. I mean, it's not going to work. We are way beyond that, in my opinion. That's what we call in business a loss leader. You throw it out there so you could try to get some talk generated or something like that. It doesn't make any sense.
Well,
it's so stupid. It's not even worth our conversation that we put up something for white only or Black only.
Well,
who's going to do that?
Let me bring Latasha Brown to the stage from Black Voters Matter, and you tell me what you think. Stay right there, because and the thing is, on this show we have people, and Linda's part of the family here. We don't all have to agree. A lot of people have a lot of different opinions about this, and I think it's important for everybody to be on the platform so that we can hear each other. That's because right. This will be a debate. This is a debate in many places. It is.
That's right.
I don't happen to agree with you, Linda, but I love you, and that's why you're here. Plus, her legal mind, Latasha Brown and Rush, I absolutely cannot quarrel with. She is the first Black person to get a master's in law from the UPenn Law School. So by the time I've laughed and giggled with Linda when she puts on those glasses and looks at the law, I step back because she's one of the best who's ever done it. But Latasha Brown, do you take this seriously?
I do. Actually, I believe that there's truth in what both of you all were saying. I was listening to it. And so
I'm about to put you off the show. Goodbye.
No, let me tell you why. Seriously. Because I think there's an element of truth in both of them. Let me say, Sister Linda, what I gather from what you're saying is there's a cultural timestamp in the way that we saw racism play itself out in the 60s and where particularly certain generations are now. It is not the same. And so we can actually acknowledge that it is not the same. The part that I push back on, while there's an acknowledgement that is not the same, is an acknowledgement it would be very challenging for there to be Black water fountains and white water fountains. What I will say is there is a concerted, intentional effort for Black erasure. And so what doesn't seem is possible within a fascist authoritarian state becomes possible. And so I think we have to kind of really realize we're in a new frontier that I do believe that race has been what it does, and we've seen it already. There are people who are becoming emboldened that once you make racism the new cool kid on the block and you normalize it, it creates a circumstance, what we saw in Germany. Most folk in Germany, prior to Hitler, if you had talked to them about the mass killing of a people, most of them would have like, that's impossible to happen in our country. In spite of, even with the racism, with all the other stuff, right? That part of what I think happens and is that these things that seem ridiculous, they have a, while people may not go that extreme, I don't think that let me say this to Attorney Linda's point. I don't think that this culture will ever go back to the pre-60 days where that becomes a norm. I don't believe that. Do I believe that it's hurtful and that is used to weaponize and desensitize us to race? Absolutely. I do believe that the fact that it's there and there's no protection, I do believe the remedy that help de-incentivize people doing that once that remedy has been erased, it actually emboldens people to move a certain kind of way. So I might not have a white water fountain and a black water fountain. I might make a private club. I mean, what we know is that racism in this country has never been static. It has evolved as culture has evolved. It has evolved, and so I think the truth of the matter is it is incredibly dangerous for us to think that is okay. It's the same reason why, even though I think there are people who abuse this, i.e. ADL, that anti-Semitism under no circumstances can be tolerated, right? What has happened is what you've seen, a collapse of in some instances where it's been weaponized for a different kind of agenda. But to your point, we cannot act like this is harmless. This is what has led to Trump's matriculation up. Like the things that we thought were ridiculous and not credible. Like when he said that Kamala wasn't black, many of us were like, that's ridiculous. Some people it impacted. When you're saying that it's okay, that separate and equal is okay, that yes, the majority of people, maybe the majority of people won't, but there's some people that will agree with that. And so when we see racism, when we see the dehumanization of people, regardless of where we think it is, we have to be relentless about pushing up back against that. That this cannot, my tax dollars cannot go into a system that says that it is okay to discriminate against me. Now, whether they do that or not, that's one thing. The fact that we're sanctioning this idea of they have the right to do that, that is deeply, deeply problematic, in my opinion.
Well, and let me bring on Rush Darwish from Arab Americans Forward, because we're looking at racism, however it plays itself out with Tasha Brown, with everybody. Mahmoud Khalil said, wait a minute, hey, we're dealing with racism toward Palestinians. Hey, if you're not white in the society, it's tight, right? But white people are beginning to see that it's tight on them too. When you look at these, Tasha, I know I've got to go to one or two of these. Even the Democrats are having a hard time at their town hall meetings.
That's right.
Because it is hard out here. Let me just speak to you, Solomon. You said that I said the Doge would not go and do a check on the Pentagon. I didn't say that. I said that they should, because they failed their seven consecutive audits, and they can let go of 60,000 workers because now war is automated. It's almost like going into a PlayStation. That's how they do that now. So I'm hearing you, but anytime they're failing all these audits, and Elon Musk is one of the biggest military contractors we have. It's interesting to me that he did not go there first, but I digress. That's not a digression. This is what we're talking about, all this money.
If we were really talking about waste, and to your point, Santita, the department that we know, the federal agency that has come under, like literally been the most abuse around resources, has been the Defense Department. So the fact that that did not lead says that this has nothing to do, that in itself should tell us this has nothing to do with around the protection of resources. Not while you're saying that on one hand, while on the other hand, you're trying to get a $400 million contract to buy armed cars from Tesla. So we have to be sophisticated enough. We're going to have to be a little bit more sophisticated in terms of our thinking about what's happening politically. And so I'm glad you got this conversation and this space, because we got to get our information in a much broader context.
Absolutely. I mean, Rush, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, this is, first of all, I want to make sure you all hear me. You do hear me?
We can hear you. Absolutely.
All right, just because, yeah, I got a lot to say about this as well. But ultimately, I can't help but go back to the elections. President Donald Trump was empowered, and you have to look at the analytics. They called it a mandate, and that's because the African-American community, Arab American community, Black and brown communities significantly voted more for Donald Trump over the Democrats. This empowered him to say, I can do whatever I want. And now we have people who are having buyer's remorse. Well, guess what? It's too late. We tried. We really did. People around the nation, including myself at the Arab Americans Forward, we tried to tell everyone, as upset as you are with the Democrats and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, you will still be much better off with policy to stay with them and advocate through them. But nobody listened. People acted as if Donald Trump was never president. People acted like he wasn't president 4 years ago. We know what we were getting. We absolutely knew what was going to happen when Donald Trump became president. And here we are. And I'm going to say something that might be a bold statement for the day. But this is what also happens when the Democrats and the Democratic voters tend to be lazy and we tend to be reactive. Here, Donald Trump is running. We see that he is in this race. And everyone forgot about how bad he was up to 2020. And the result was less people decided to vote. And nobody was motivated to make sure that this maniac doesn't get back in office. But now here he is. And for the next 3.5+ years, this is what we are going to deal with. And to say that Donald Trump and his administration won't administer some of his new policies and these executive orders of segregation. Oh, maybe not in metropolitan cities like Chicago and New York, but look out. You know, that the racist pockets in the United States that are what I would say dominant, stronger white voter class regions will attempt to administer these type of practices of segregation. So we need to look out. We paid the price, but now we got to move forward. And I hope this is a wake-up call that we have to advocate now for the next 3.5 years.
I agree. I do want to push back, one, because I don't want to create false equivalencies, because 92% of Black women were not having it. We did know, right? And we were shortly followed behind Black men, right?
Yeah,
then our Jewish, yes, we were.
Tasha, the numbers don't lie in major markets, and it's simple facts. When you look at county to county, even the Hispanic vote, you know, where he called Hispanics who come are rapists and killers. Even in the most densely populated Hispanic and Mexican areas of the country, voter turnout for Donald Trump was up 15 to 20% in those regions. That's staggering. That's stunning.
I agree.
It should have been up.
I was specifically talking about Black voters, because I do think that we create a false equivalency that is not the same. And I think part of the frustration of Black voters, quite frankly, has been that when we've been working to build alliances, what we've not seen, in many ways, we felt betrayed in this election cycle. And so we can go to the numbers even with that to show that wasn't the same across the board. That some communities,
we have to ultimately, with respect, I'm not even singling out one race or one class, whether it's Black women or Black men. I am simply saying that the voter turnout and a good portion of the people who said, I'm not even going to vote. And I got breaking news. I was one of them. As a Palestinian, I was so disgusted at the Biden administration. I could not possibly vote for anyone tied to the Biden administration who supported a genocide. And so I said, there's no way. A lot of people were not motivated to vote. And the ones that did vote, the records show that the voter registry shows that, yeah, the increase in Black and brown communities were for Donald Trump. In Dearborn, for example, that has the largest densely populated Arab American community in the nation, for the first time in, I believe, 50 years, that the vote went to Trump over a long-standing Democratic stronghold. And by the way, this is again during a genocide.
But and rightfully so. You have a country that's spending $2 trillion more than it's bringing in. You have 14 million people who you don't know anything about walking into the country, which is costing you billions of dollars. You have this issue when politicians can't tell you what a woman is. A woman can't tell you what a woman. I mean, I'm just telling you, this is the truth. This is so far against, Latasha, everything.
But
that the West and America stand for.
I understand, but who should tell a woman who a woman is? Who has that right?
Well,
I'm just being honest. I'm like, who? Because if we believe that that's the real issue, like, do we really?
It was, Latasha. It was.
Latasha.
And it is. And changing children's sexuality and all of that. That was the issue.
Okay.
So
People
here's the deal,
against
Latasha.
God and against nature.
So you and I, Latasha, we could agree 1,000%. We stand together on everything you just said right now. But that's not what the real question is. The real question, did the everyday voter who went to the poll, was this an issue about the Democratic Party investing time and energy, or the Republicans creating the illusion that the Democratic Party treats the issue of transgender, the LGBTQ community, as the top rated issue over other pressing matters when it comes to American families? And the exit polls showed that once again, that yes, and this was even though we know that this isn't really the truth, but the perception was that the Democrats do not focus on the middle class any longer. They don't focus on how to save money and how to provide jobs for the middle class.
No,
that message sold. The message sold, and the people have spoken, and that's what brought in a 34-count convicted felon to return to the White House.
I hear you, but I do want to raise something real quick. So I hear you because there is a way that we're creating false equivalencies that I think we have to be really careful about. This was not a mandate. If you look at the numbers, it was not a mandate. Number two, that even as we're looking at this, we just found out this week that Facebook had employees that were embedded in the Trump campaign. We have also recognized that there wasn't by accident that Elon Musk bought Twitter, even though most folks were saying that wasn't a financially smart move. But what it did essentially do is it killed the progressive public square. That when you look at the Me Too movement, when you look at Black Lives Matter movement, many of those movements caught fire and were able to be amplified in those spaces. I'm saying this because we're projecting that these are issues at the top of the issues that people care about. I'm telling you that they're not. They are only to the extent. Wait, let me finish.
I don't agree with you. I don't agree with you.
This is what I call geographical opinion.
Allow me to finish. Doesn't get it.
I hear you. Allow me to finish.
Now hold on. Wait. Stop.
Yes. Can you allow me to finish?
I want you to finish because we cannot. Let me just establish this. We can't talk over each other because I want everyone to be heard. Everybody's got a point. And Latasha, I want you to make your point. But let's not shout over each other. Okay.
So my point is someone who has been organizing in the streets, talking to folks for 30 years. I never went to a door up until this misinformation and transgender or trans rights was even a thought on people's mind, or abortion was a thought on people's mind. What I am saying, if you can take to listen to it, these are issues that were constructed in messages in such a way to make us actually believe, just like when we see McDonald's on TV, it convinces us that we want a hamburger. This ain't something I'm making up. There are years, just let me finish. There are years and years of people who all they do is marketing, and they tell you what you believe. They tell you what you feel. That's what is called advertisement. And so what I'm saying to you is even the issues that we're arguing around as the core top issues are issues that were manufactured issues that were actually those messages were placed in our communities to make us think to look here when this is happening. The bottom line is there is a pillage of resources happening in this country right now. The issue of half of us ain't even met a trans person.
Yeah,
Like the majority
Latasha,
of folks are not. And so that's become a core issue, not because that was a core issue. It's an orchestrated, manufactured issue. That's my point. That has been.
I tend to agree, Latasha. I have to at least, by the way, I never like to use a disclaimer, the word pushback. It's just what I call a conversation. And I want you to know that at least here in Chicago, there have been various schools and school districts where there were proposals to add a bathroom that would accommodate trans students, okay? And it didn't go far, and it created a major uproar. And what it did was it created an unbelievable distraction for students. The education curriculum was interrupted by mass protests around these schools over adding an additional bathroom for 1 or 2 or 3 students.
Right.
So no, this idea that it's just simply the marketing machine coming from the Elon Musk or the Republican Party and the money that's dumped, I think there is truth to that, and Democrats do that as well. But when you deal with what I call the grassroots belief, oh no, Latasha, I could tell you in our neck of the woods, there's a reason. There's a reason why Donald Trump came within 6 points.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying if we're not sophisticated enough to know that we're being told what to care about, because the truth of the matter is, listen, the bathroom issue around trans, that's not new. That's actually over a decade old. So the question is now, why is it an issue? Right? If part of it's an issue is because that information has been weaponized and amplified. That's all I'm talking about.
Can I make a point, Santita?
Now, but I also want Linda to make her point. But hold on, Linda, Dwight, please, and one moment, everybody. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. We continue to go on and on and on, but I have to put this here because we're going to continue with the show. But you'll have to go to the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page and the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, so you'll get the rest of this conversation. All right, everybody. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. If you want more, you're going to have to stay around. In the meantime, love you, Minnesota. Okay, Dwight. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. Just in case we run longer, Dwight McKee.
Well, first point is that what they're doing to us is not about us. It's about our children, our grandchildren. Them purging history out of the schools, them purging positive black images out of the school. We're not going to be so much affected by that because we've been acculturated on the other side of that. But for our grandchildren, when you take the history out of the schools, when you take the truth out of the schools, when you raise them on propaganda, then you set them up for failure. You look at what happened to music. When they took all of the music out of the school and they only left us with hip hop that morphed into gangster rap, it's because the void happened 40 years ago, but the consequences happen every day in the streets as we shoot each other and as we defame each other. We have to understand that the Heritage Foundation, these crowds, they think generations ahead, and they're organizing us for generations. Second point is that no, we won't go back to separate and equal water fountains because racism now is not based on color and complexion. It's based on geography. And so all they do is move us all into one area and then cut the resources off in that area. And so a place like Lawndale in Chicago is devoid of resources, devoid of health, devoid of food. And so the net impact is the same as not drinking out of water fountains. If you ain't got a water fountain, it don't matter if you can't drink out of one. And so we have to be a little more broad in understanding this is a long-range plan, not just about us, but also to prepare to get these white people out the way so they can autonomize, so they can automate all these industries that these white folk have found solace in terms of jobs, soon they're going to be done by AI, or they're going to be automated. And they're going to be out of jobs just like they put us out of jobs after the Civil War. So I think we have to begin to think long range, because this is going to be a long range fight, and they got a long range strategy.
Linda, you were saying?
No, I agree with you, Dwight. There is a long range plan, but I think it really is a plan that is going to showcase excellence. Either the white people that are excellent at what they do, they're going to get the job. The black people that are excellent at what they do, they're going to get the jobs. The Palestinians who are excellent at what they do, they're going to get the jobs. There's a shift in America right now.
But that's not true, Linda. As a Palestinian, I'm deeply concerned about the fact that we're getting deported. If we protest, which is supposed to be our First Amendment right, you have a green card, you're a student here.
That's going to be overturned. Right?
Look what happened to him. That's almost like a dream. This idea that we are going to all be treated equally. That's just not happening. And Donald Trump is demonstrating he's decimating DEI. And it is affecting us all deeply.
Because he thinks that DEI has adversely affected America. The fact is that DEI has not adversely affected America. But to the extent that we have all these people doing these jobs with no credentials, no anything, nobody's doing the job anymore. If I can do it from home and in my bed, then why do I need you?
But Linda, you're sounding like Condoleezza Rice, who felt that slavery would be ended because what she said, it was the market. Everything was going to change. That's not no, it didn't have. Slavery was so much deeper than that.
So are we talking about credentials and we talking about Trump? Because I need to understand.
And what I'm trying to do is wait a minute. The election happened for a whole lot of reasons. And we can continue to litigate that because Democrats need to do a postmortem on this because we shouldn't be here. That having been said, what we do have here are people who are aggressive and who are coming after us. There's some things that we might not see in Chicago, right, Rush or Latasha? But you know what? You're going to see the separate waiting rooms. These are federal contractors who have private businesses. They can do what they want with their businesses.
Yeah.
You're going to see this pop up. That's all that I'm saying. And I'm saying it's an atmosphere that you spoke to, Latasha, that people feel empowered to say what they want, to do what they want. And that concerns me. I think we should be concerned about that. I mean, I wish Kamala had won. She did not. I get it.
Right.
That having been said, now I got this. Now I got them wiping out Medgar Evers.
Right.
And I got this. I've got someone who says, wait a minute, a federal contractor does not have to adhere. Yeah, they must adhere to state and federal law, but they got some space now. That's problematic for me.
It
I think it should be problematic for everybody.
It should. I'm getting ready to leave because I have to go to another appointment. And one, I appreciate the conversation. I think the part that scares me is that we are really totally unaware of how much our opinions, our language, what we believe is being shaped outside of ourselves. Like it's amazing. Even in we can't even have a legitimate kind of authentic conversations in our communities about the issues that really matter, because folks have told us certain issues matter and they've tapped into this emotional nerve that we have that is usually based in my opinion, American exceptionalism and self-righteousness. And once they tap into that kind of nerve, we go down that route, right?
Because we don't trust anybody anymore, Latasha.
We don't trust anybody.
There's no trust.
We believe that we've effectively, and I'll say this, Rush, and you know this, we've effectively allowed the mainstream media to punish folks who have even said anything about Palestinians that you can't even say. And for us to not acknowledge that is like some Hitler shit. I'm just sorry.
I agree with that.
It is. Secondly, for us to act out, when have Black folks been in high positions of power and we're not excellent. So the idea that we're now all of a sudden excellence, let me say this. There's some people, I understand that, but the truth of the matter is, if you're honest, Linda, that the truth of the matter is most of us who have actually gone into spaces that have been highly competitive spaces, we actually were much better.
We were superior in order to be equal. That's always been the case.
And so the idea of now excellence is being called into question because and it ain't being called into. Look at the cabinet. Have you not looked at this? This is the most inefficient, inexperienced cabinet that we've ever seen. But our conversation will get like that with the workers or with other people, but will not with the man that we know that he has spent over $19 million so far on his golf trips, right? But we're gonna cut money in other places. But we are in a culture that has told us that poor people are poor because they're lazy, that Black folks are behind because they're not excellent, that women are not in positions as they should because they're not as equipped and as smart
in the world in education, Latasha.
Gay people are messing up the world order. The bottom line is part of why Trump is existence right now, Santita, is because we co-created him. That we actually, it wasn't just the Republicans, it was us. Every time that we've allowed to see the a Palestinian child or Palestinians killed and not said anything, we've supported that. Every single time we've allowed somebody to be discriminated against because who they decide to go to bed with, because I don't know why we in somebody else's bedroom, but who they decide to go to bed with, we have fed into that. Every time we've allowed this idea of there's a poor mentality, we've allowed that. The bottom,
Natasha, when you're fourth in the world in education, at the bottom of education,
the poor piece in this world come from the extraction of labor.
Linda, well, let me say this: the education system did not collapse. We have collapsed it because we don't want to govern people; we want to manage them.
We want to
manage people.
We don't want to teach people
whom you do not educate. That is that is what has happened. Because when we were a striving nation, my sister has a PhD in global education policy, and she said, "Wait a minute. What blew her mind was that when she went to the Nordic countries, you turned on the radio and you did not hear garbage. You heard different stations teaching you different languages." Rush. She said, "Now it's interesting when countries, Latasha, Linda, Dwight, when they're trying to move ahead, education is elevated. We're closing schools. We have this man who's trying to run for president right now, who closed 50 plus schools in the Black community.
It's intentional.
And wants to defund the Department of Education, which directly will affect Black and brown schools across the nation. Look, everyone, what we have here is beyond DEI. It's beyond government contracting, which I want you all to know. My background as the president of the Arab American Business and Professional Association is to assist minorities with federal contracting. But I will tell you that this is much bigger. What we are seeing here is a civil war ensuing. But at the same time, will America's blood boil to be that way? And right now, I'm not officially sold on that. Donald Trump's approval ratings right now as we speak is in the upper 40s. And when I see that, it tells me that there is some level of content with the job he is doing. Absolutely. I am deeply concerned that the George Floyd murder, or the Black Lives Matter movement
for the last 4 years.
It's not going to it's not going to ignite. And I'll even take this a step further. Somebody asked President Trump about 3 months ago, what does he think about J.D. Vance becoming president? And he was very vague. And it just dawned on me, oh yeah, Trump will never endorse anybody moving forward to be next president except his kids. He is looking at the Trump dynasty all the way as young as Barron to become the next president, onward and onward. So this battle that we have here is not limited to just the next 3 years. And I will be honest with you, Latasha and Linda and Dwight, I am not sold today that we are going to have a movement that's going to be able to defeat this. That really worries me. It scares me.
I understand. And Dwight, I'll just say this, that I think people are, and I'll just say this from a perspective as a Black female organizer from the South. Mm-hmm. Trump ain't new to us that live in the deep South. We deal with Trump. We've been dealing with damn Trump, right? And the bottom line is what's behind and driving this is an anti-blackness that don't nobody want to speak to, right? But there's an anti-blackness that is driving this as well. And the third part is what I believe is that this is going to reach a particular kind of turning point.
I agree with that.
We may not see it now. People are organizing and linking up, right? But it is going to reach a certain turning point. Some of us that know that we're trying to be baited. So part of why you're not seeing a lot of black movement in the street, those of us who are organizers, we're looking at it. He came out of the gate trying to bait us. They're trying to bait us. They want us to go to the streets. We're clear about that. We're those of us who've been doing this for 20 or more years, we're sophisticated enough to know when the time is right. Right. What you will see is I do think that you'll see direct action. I think that there are some white groups out there right now that are organizing and been doing some wonderful work. When I look at Indivisible and some others, they've been doing amazing work. Right. And we need that. And they need to push back. Like, and some of this, they need to push back. Because the truth of the matter is what's happening under the guise of anti-blackness or DEI, a lot of that don't even have nothing to do with that. Right. It really is a way of stripping rights, right? Using racism as a frame, right? To be able to strip rights, which is the same thing that happened in the Civil War. That in the Civil War, if anybody saw the movie, The Free State of Jones, that ultimately it was the white landowners who got this war. They wanted to keep the institution of slavery. The majority of the white folks that were in the war couldn't even afford a slave. Right. But it was the intoxication of this white supremacist frame, right, that literally fueled that. What I am seeing is how it's fueling our messaging now. It is fueling us to this belief. It would, for me to have the tools and access to the people and the resources that I have and say that we can't win and I'm a descendant of a slave, that's like sacrilegious. Yeah. Like my people gonna survive. Like we will survive. Whatever way we go, America gonna go.
We're going to win.
This ain't about the protest. I like that, Latasha.
We're going to win.
So that's
this is about getting people to the polls.
There's my presence on this call and is an example. Like I am a living witness of how you can win when you don't have government, when you don't have resources on your side, when you don't have a Democratic Party on our side. Black liberation was never just contingent upon that.
I cannot get afraid of Trump. My parents would be embarrassed if I said that this man frightened me and, oh, this is such a dark time. I was born in a colored women's hospital in Greensboro, North Carolina.
So it is going to be a reckoning.
Oh, make no mistake. I'm not scared of no Trump. I just hope that.
I know we will win.
I want to see the momentum. The momentum must build. And
the momentum is happening right now, but where I think the momentum has to happen is not necessarily the part of racism. Keep you responding. Those of us who've been dealing with this our entire life, our entire existence on this damn country, we know white America better than they know themselves. Like at the end of the day, the knowing and seeing it, we see it, we know it, we smell it, we feel it, we experience it, we navigate through it every single day, right? But at the end of the day, I guess what I am saying is there is going to be a point of reckoning. And the question is, are we going to have our communities ready for something different, or whether we will recreate the same thing? And so part of it is we have to be sophisticated enough to not let people convince us of what we care about or make us tell us what our priority is, right? We've got to be sophisticated enough to really recognize that we're being intentionally bombarded with information to make us feel, think, and a certain kind of way. That's a different kind of reality that people had before. And so I'm hoping that we see this as an opportunity. I do believe that's going to get tougher before it gets better. But ultimately,
let me just say this, Latasha, Linda, Santita, I have to get going, but I'm going to say that I'm ready to lock up with y'all. This Palestinian's ready to lock up with you. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm already locked up with you.
Here we go.
But and I'm going to tell you what, you don't have a choice if you're going to win. Because let me tell you something. Black people in America, every time we've launched a fight, we have won. We won the Civil War. And we won the Civil War, unlike other blacks in the diaspora. And I ain't mad at nobody. I give big props to all my brothers and sisters who fought colonial powers. But we fought this power as a minority in America, and we won. And we taught everybody else to win, and we brought everybody else in here. The reason you can be here is because we won, Rush, and we're going to win.
If I ever feel down moving forward, I'm just coming on the Santita Jackson show. That's what I'm doing. I'm coming right here.
And you come right here because we will win. We have done nothing but win. But what you cannot do is be fearful. That is not of God.
Right.
We have won because
we don't win. We
God was on our side. We've been on God's side.
We have to deal with reality.
God does not believe.
And we are. I'm a reality.
This is reality. I don't believe that God is.
I'm from Selma, Alabama. I'm a reality.
And
I'm a realist as well. But the reality is that America has deep problems, real problems, and we've got to address those issues and those problems. And this is, we have a leader, Donald Trump, what you want to call him. He's trying to address problems, systemic problems in our country that are deeply troubling.
What problem is he trying to address?
What do you mean? What is he trying to?
Well,
fraud, waste, and abuse in government. The fact that you want to pay for sex change operations for prisoners, all the stuff.
Would you leave these
I'm just talking. I just use that one, but there are much bigger issues than that. There are much bigger issues globally.
No, I mean, really, and you know what? If someone,
do you think that
if someone has a gender issue, God bless them, okay? But that has nothing to do. That has less to do. Kids are hungry out here, and so are grown folks. I'm talking about hunger.
America, 50% of America is obese. So
yeah. And I'm talking about making America healthy again. I agree with that part. But
we're not healthy.
I don't want to talk about the thing anymore.
And it's not because of lack of food.
I mean, look, if someone is struggling with that, God bless them. And you know what? And I want them to get the help that they need, and I'm gonna keep it going. But what they are doing in the schools here, Latasha, they are making children, kindergartners. Parents have to decide what the pronoun's going to be. It's turning people off. I got it. Okay. But that having been said, they're making a minority problem a majority crisis. What I'm talking about here is someone trying to overturn the Civil Rights Act, the Fair Housing Act.
Santita, we can't even get there because what I am saying, and this conversation is an example of it. The messaging let me tell you, America's biggest sin is not, and biggest lie is not the racism, it's not the sexism. America's biggest lie is American exceptionalism. America has convinced itself the whole fundamental foundation is based on white patriarchy supremacy. And we have considered that to be normative. And anything outside of that is either tolerated, depending on how far you get from that. And so because of that, it has bred a certain belief in ourselves of self-righteousness. It has bred a certain belief in ourselves to believe that we have the authority and the power, even though God created us, not this Constitution, not this damn nation that enslaved folks, have killed people, extracted resources. But what we have seen is now we're taking our cues from people who I call the anti-humans. And so our goal is constantly looking for what they have done, what they have been meticulous about is what is the group that is the boogeyman. And so sometimes it's the Black people, and sometimes it's been the Asians. Then it becomes the LGBTQ community. Then it becomes the trans community. Who can we make the person or the group that is destroying the rest of everybody else? And if we are not sophisticated enough, it is ahistorical.
The most exceptional group in America is the Asian group. They're the highest. They test higher. They're what they do, the way they conduct their community, even their diet. They're the most exceptional group in America. It is not white America. That is a fact. And if you don't believe it, go to MIT, where 65% of the student body is Asian. So it ain't white folks.
Linda, I wasn't saying
on
that.
Test results.
Yeah, I wasn't saying that, and I don't believe that you're exceptional just because you pass a test. Particularly on the European.
Then that's why we go to doctors. Why we go to lawyers. Well, no.
Yeah, but that's not what I believe. I mean, I've got several efforts and several fellowships at Harvard. So I mean, and so I understand and got a program there now. So I understand the value in that, but I can tell you, and I learned early on that validation by a white or European system does not necessarily mean
anything.
Can I get in, Sandy?
Yes.
But that's why we pick our doctors, our lawyers.
Reverend, hold on. Reverend got a D in preaching from the University of Chicago when he was in seminary.
Yeah. Can I make a point real quick? What we're missing in this conversation is this is not a local proposition. This is global.
Yeah,
this is who's going to control the world's resources.
That's right.
And so what they're doing is they're setting up to make sure the white people got enough firepower.
That's right.
And enough numbers that they don't get overwhelmed by China or by Africa. It ain't about black and white. They gonna sell the Ukraine out tomorrow and divide the Ukraine up between the United States and Russia.
That's it.
They're as white as you can get. It's about who's going to control the world economy.
Correct.
And the world's resources. And so we have a very narrow approach to this.
That's right.
If we think this is about a water fountain and Negroes drinking out of a water fountain.
That's right.
No, this is about repositioning.
That's right.
Our resources in such a way as we can become competitive with the third world and with China. Even if it means making alliances with Russia.
Absolutely.
And that become a new alliance. So you have to broaden your thoughts, is my point here. And don't think this is about us necessarily. No. We're just pawns in a bigger chess game.
Absolutely. What I will say to that point is we are the most apparent because there is a distinction around other groups because there was no whiteness a century ago, right? But other groups that have actually have taken on whiteness as part of their identity, like the Irish used to didn't be white, you know that they weren't white.
And the Italians,
Jews weren't white. The Italians weren't white. They took that on as part of their identity, and so these things, as Santita's raising. While I agree, I don't think the water fountains, to both you and Linda's point, I don't think that in itself is the issue. It is a weapon that is a part of the issue. That is almost like it's like death by 1,000 cuts. If you keep chipping away the dehumanization of people, if you keep chipping away that it is okay to discriminate, if you keep chipping away and you start normalizing that becomes normal, and the more accepted it is, the more extreme it gets. And so these things are harmless.
Again, this ain't, it's a bigger picture there. They're talking about taking Greenland, and everybody in Greenland is white. They're talking about trying to take Canada at some point, and most folk in Canada are white. Again, this is about the global control. They ain't even check with Greenland. Say we're gonna make y'all.
Let me check it. Let me jump in here. Because these people, the World Economic Forum and all these big think tanks, they are rethinking the structure of the world. When you look at what Trump is doing, he's trying to capture the hemisphere, North, South, and Central America. Okay, that's what Greenland is about to, and Canada, because Canada ain't nobody up there, right? So this is a whole. These people, as Dwight, the point that he's making is that this is big, but I think that the good thing about this story is it can help to wake us up. That's my point. I
agree. Thank you both. I gotta go.
I love you, Latasha, and you look fabulous. I had to say it here.
All right, thank y'all.
You look fabulous, girl.
Nice meeting you, Latasha.
Nice meeting you, Miss Linda.
After all of this. But
all right.
So Linda,
yeah.
So what did you think we missed here?
I think that we're it's what your father was saying. I think we're looking at the fruit and not looking at the tree that bears the fruit. The issues that are facing America right now are serious issues that have to be addressed. And we have to change what we've been doing in the past because we are sinking and sinking fast. And no one's sinking faster than Black people because they're not educated. They can't read or write. And the culture, as I don't understand it anymore, it's just unbelievable. It's rude. It's boorish. It's everything. We are sinking, and we keep talking about external stuff versus the stuff that we need to do within our own community and within our country to make Americans more sensible, if you will, to give them an education so that they will be healthy, not 50% of the country being obese, 50% of it being illiterate. I mean, these are huge issues. These aren't just racial issues for me.
Well, let me say this to you, Linda.
I'm
It
listening.
ain't hard to sink in quicksand. It ain't hard. Let me say that again. It ain't hard to sink in quicksand.
That's true.
And if they are they're flooding the plain. So all we dealing with is mud. And so it is not, we're sinking because we're inferior or not applying ourselves.
It is because
we're sinking because we're being sunk.
We are not applying ourselves, and you know that's the truth.
You can have a PhD from and try to go to Harvard, and what they will say to you now is you're coming here because you're not qualified because of affirmative action, and you can't use that card anymore. They're setting up not to allow us to become as excellent as well. We've always been excellent in things. Jackie Robinson has always been the best ball player, one of the best ball players in the major leagues. Willie Mays has always been one of the best players in the Black leagues. But if you locked out of baseball, you never can get the record.
Jesse says it best. We never knew how good baseball could be until Willie Mays could play and Jackie Robinson. He says,
yeah, so it ain't that they wasn't excellent. They was locked out. That's what the plan is for us, is to lock us out.
We're being locked out right now.
But we weren't being locked out. We had strong families, strong communities, strong schools, strong belief in God, and strong belief in what's right and wrong. This deterioration is not being caused, to me, at least in my opinion, externally.
But
it's
you know
being
what?
caused internally.
Well, no, some of it is external, some of it is internal. When you look at our history in this country, every time we established prosperous communities, we were literally bombed out or burned out or lynched out. Now, that's a fact. The Black community did not just collapse, it has been collapsed. You do know that drugs were dropped in our community in the 60s and the 80s to thwart any progress that we made moving forward. Have Black people made some mistakes? Absolutely. But has there been a war on us? Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to, that's where conservatives thought they could get Reverend, because he said the best deterrent to racism is excellence. But what he would not, where the conservatives ran away from him was, he was not going to absolve white people of their complicity in undermining Black people, in the plan that they've had to undermine us. Now that's real.
That's true.
We have to talk about that. And so, I mean, and it's not even a discussion. The first time a bomb was dropped on American soil was dropped in Tulsa on Black people by white folks, because these people were jealous of this prosperous community. That's Rosewood. It's happened all over the country, over and over and over and over and over again. Black people are a miracle that we have survived and we've gotten this far. Have we been making some bad decisions? Yes. Have some people taken our rap music and turned it into hip hop and destroyed a beautiful genre? The first rap song I heard was Great Pax Whitey. Remember that, Dwight? Remember that? By Dinky Giovanni singing over Peace Be Still?
Mm-hmm.
No, wait, now, hold on. When we owned it, it was not, you didn't call women out of their names. You did not turn men inside out. You didn't do any of that. And that has nothing to do with someone's sexuality. Homosexuality is a very real part of the human experience. What I'm talking about is breaking people down and making them who they're not supposed to be. No one was more man than James Baldwin. No one was more man than Bayard Rustin. No one was a fiercer advocate for our community than Lorraine Hansberry. So I don't want you to take this gay thing off the table for me, because that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. I'm, as my mother says, I don't believe in examining sheets. Whoever's key fits your lock, God bless you.
Correct. I feel the same way.
Take that off the table. What I'm talking about is, let's look at what's happening in Burkina Faso. Because this young man who's the president of that country has stood toe to toe, 10 toes down, and he's looked at France along with Mali and these other Francophone nations, and he has said, get out. Whatever you have, walk out with it, but don't you come back for any more. I see some people trying to rise in Africa and make it prosperous. There's a reason that Netflix has cast their lot in Africa, because next century will be the century of the African. And you see Russia, you see China, you see Europe trying to figure out how they're going to divvy up Africa again. And I promise you before God, I hope it doesn't work. I hope, because that's the problem. I realize USAID does some good things, but they are also an intelligence front. And Africa should be aiding the world. They shouldn't be taking aid from the world. Aid ain't no plan. Shouldn't be policy. Everything that the world needs is Africa's delivering it to them. It's being taken from them. What is this? So maybe this is a time for all of us to wake up and really understand what is going on here. While we're arguing over foolish things, how few people were let into school. You got Cubans who are sending doctors all over the world because they produce them like we produce bubble gum. Why can't we? We couldn't do that, but we've chosen not to do that because we're locking people out. That's what I'm talking about. Maybe this conversation today for me was to help wake people up, because a whole lot of folks got comfortable in their houses with their jobs, Linda and Dwight, and they felt that we didn't need a movement anymore. And you know what? You need it all day, every day, because you need advocacy. Because it's not necessarily the most excellent person, Linda, who's going to get or keep that job. As soon as they undercut DEI, there were at least 4 Black women at major corporations who lost their jobs that day. We have got hundreds of the spine of the Black middle class is in federal government. That back has been broken. Then what are we gonna do?
That's an interesting question. On the other hand, if Santita Jackson Inc. was a company, and Santita Jackson Inc. was losing $2 trillion a year, you would make cuts, and those cuts would be people.
Yeah,
and that's called business.
And the first thing I'd cut is, first of all, America their business cannot be war. Dr. King told us that was a losing proposition. And you're right, Snowman. If you're going to talk about trans folks, have trans folks on. This was not supposed to be a conversation about trans people.
Oh no, I'm just saying that was one of the major things that the immigration thing that hurt that created this. I'm
responding to one of my morning stars here. I'm just letting Snowman say, hey, I'm just letting you know that was not the point of the conversation.
Oh, I agree.
Okay, that was not it. We had to speak. Linda brought this up, and so I
said why the Democrats lost so badly. But our values changed.
But I think that was not the only reason.
Oh no,
that was not. That might have been a little part of it, but there were other.
When you attack parents and you attack the home life of Americans, you're going to have problems.
I will accept that. That having been said, now look at what we've got. PG County, if you had seen, PG County is the wealthiest Black county in the United States. Congressman Glenn Ivey, who I know, great guy, represents people beautifully, and it's an overwhelmingly Democratic county. If you go on TV today, or just go on YouTube and see his town hall meeting, these people in a heavily Democratic district with a lot of Democrats in the room are furious because they're losing these jobs, these houses, and they are saying, look, what are you all going to do?
The system will self-correct. The pendulum had gone way too far left. Now it'll come back. Now it's going too far right. We will come back.
The system won't self-correct. We have to correct the system. This is a godless system. This is ridiculous.
This is the system. The system is the oppressed people take their excess and use it for mostly white men because they in charge, because they got access to the guns and the missiles. But that is the system. That's what America is built on. There's no other system but that. And so the whole economy is based on them protecting their money. So if we make too much progress, they cut our access to money.
Hmm.
And if they need us to do cheap labor, they make sure that we're desperate enough to take anything come along. That is the system, Linda.
That's how it works.
No, I don't agree with you about that. The
You never seen Jamestown? You never saw the slave ships?
Of course I did.
The
That's
slave ships was
400
here for the
years ago.
Constitution was here.
I mean, that's not today. I mean, we're trying to the contemporary times are very different from ancient times, in just in general, as you know. No, I think that
For whom, Linda? For who?
I'm listening.
For who? I'm asking you for whom?
For everyone, for us. I mean, there are black billionaires. Let's face it. I mean, we're not just, we're not the dregs of society, and we're not treated that way.
Our net income is exactly where it was in 1865, Linda.
We are about to have negative. We are on track as a people. Black Americans are on track to have negative wealth by 2050, Linda. That is no. We wait.
Well,
no,
not that most of the country is Hispanic.
But honey, wait, we built the country, and I'm saying we are on track to have negative wealth by 2050. Now that's not because black folks are stupid or lazy. That is a plan. That there is no self-correct. Dr. King had to hit the bricks. Reverend Jesse Jackson had to hit the bricks. Whitney Young had to hit the bricks. Thurgood Marshall had to hit the bricks. Rosa Parks had to hit the bricks. Fannie Lou Hamer had to hit the bricks.
I don't doubt that. That's true.
And and they had to go against the system to get our rights.
That's true.
The system gave us nothing. We had to take it, and we had to change the system in order to get what we are supposed to have. Because the system is slated against us. Now white people are finding out that it's slated against them too. Which is why you see all of the anger at these town hall meetings. Because now they see, wait a minute, Boucher? You mean to tell me you met me? Yeah. When we were going to cut, you thought it was just going to be black folks, these lazy folks, that too many of them bloated in this bloated federal government. The federal government has been shrinking for the past 80 years. 80 years ago, 4.5% of the American workforce was federal government. At the beginning of the 2020 term, it was 1.5%. It is shrinking. Fewer and fewer people work for the federal government. Fewer and fewer. So wait a minute. This thing has never been fair. It's just now white people are beginning to see that it's not fair for them. God bless them. We kept trying to tell them that, and those who act, there was something called the Fusionist Party in the post-Civil War period, where blacks and whites were coming together. If you look at the Boston Tea Party, that was a rainbow coalition. The first person to die was a black person, but not the second. It was black people, indigenous people, and white folks who were working class who said, y'all are treating me unfairly. And every time you see that people trying to come together, who end up coming together on that, the oligarchs try to destroy it. I hope it doesn't work this time.
Well, I hope not too. I'm very concerned about our country, and I'm very concerned about many things that Donald Trump has said and or done that just didn't make any sense. But I'm okay, because I think that we're going to right the ship. The ship is tilting over, and that bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, because I think the country's broke. I do. And that's a problem. I absolutely believe that spending $2 trillion more than you take in every year, not right. But you know what? That's not the people's fault. Why is Boeing still a big contractor? They cannot keep a plane aloft in the sky. They left some people, or maybe they plan to leave them people up there for 9 months. But either way, they were supposed to be gone a week. They were up there 9 months. They had many opportunities to bring these people back. Maybe they're just trying to test the limits. Whatever it is, the biggest contractors are the military contractors. They make all of the money. And then they tell your child why they cannot eat. They tell your child why they can't have a computer. They tell us why we cannot make the internet a public utility.
Well, national defense is key to nationhood, as you know, for any country.
Well, I mean, come on. You mean to tell if
China has 1.3 million people in their military.
You know what? You can. I'm not.
We got like 300,000.
Yeah, you can have a military, but you know what you need? You should have a good defense, but you shouldn't create offense, because if you don't create offense, you won't need a big defense in the first place. If America were a place where people could come and get educated and get well, we would not be viewed as the pariah of the world as we are increasingly beginning to be seen.
We are not viewed as a pariah, Santita. That's why everybody tries to come here.
No.
Legally and illegally.
No, people all over the world.
14 million people came.
No, if you look at the UN votes, honey, when you see what we're doing over in Gaza, we're the pariah of the world.
That's outrageous.
No. Everybody knows that that the British and the Americans imprisoned Walter Sisulu and Nelson Mandela. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows that America is against anything that is progressive. We know it. They don't believe that about Americans, but they know that about our government. That's what people know all over this world.
And America is not broke, you all, for the record. Anytime you can print your own money, you can never go broke. It's a matter of who gets the money. It's a matter of what direction the money goes in. And so now you have electronic money. All you have to do is add a zero to whatever you post. It is a matter of priorities and where your values lie. So that $17 trillion, 80%, 70% of the budget goes to the military and these military companies. It's 5% of the people in this country control 90% of the wealth. 90% of the wealth by 5% of it. So the money is there. It is only going to a few people.
Well, that's the basis of a free market system.
But is that fair, Linda?
And even the old adage, Santita, he who has the gold makes the rules. That's why you don't kill the golden goose. The goose that lays the eggs.
Melinda, is that
that's
right?
human nature. Now we're just talking about people, irrespective of race or culture. In China, every corporation every single business has what they call the golden share. That golden share is one share of stock, but that golden share is owned by the president, by Jing, whatever his name is, Jing. He has the right to cast the golden share to sell a company, buy another company, or to dissolve a company. I mean, that's the nature of that's from the Roman Empire, from every culture in the world. Money has always been the sine qua non, the most important thing. But in America, we've been able to change that to a large extent, both for our community and other communities.
In China, Linda, the money is controlled by about 20 families. They're called the dragon families.
I know that.
The dragon families. And they have controlled the money for 400 or 500 years. America is beginning to compete with the dragon families for control of the economy. And the money has started that they tied up. They tied up 200 or 300 years ago. And so when you talk about an even playing field, how are you going to have an even playing field when it start out tilted?
And Linda, I need you to move to your left, please. You're all the way over in the corner. Yep. A little bit. Yep. A little bit more. Okay, so we can see you. Yep.
My
that's
screen.
it.
Hold on.
No. You were doing what
I'll go the other way.
Just do what I asked you. That's
there
all.
You go.
That's it.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So I mean, look, you have too few people who control too many and too many of the resources.
But that's not going to change. So I don't
don't
talk
know.
about stuff that we can't change because nobody's going to give up their money.
Nobody's gonna give it up. But if you look, when I look at this anger out in these streets with these people, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So we'll just have to see. But I can't really say. But I can't really say what's not going to change.
Well, it's only been 90 days since the administration changed. We're going to see a lot of changes. So we'll see how it all plays out.
Well, Dwight, where do you see the administration going? Where do you see people going? Do you see the anger building or do you see it abating?
I see it building, but I also see oppression building. And the direct ratio tells the anger build. And so now they want to tell you what to think, what not to think. Now, if you protest, they make protests against the law. And so I think that ultimately the people are going to have to storm the Bastille. But the money, so much of the money is overseas, offshore, that even if you take the people out, you don't know how to get to the money. I mean, this thing is rigged. I think the only hope again, boys, Jesus coming back. The only hope is Jesus coming back with his own army, his own angels, and he has to make these corrections because I think at some point it's beyond us. It's a system that's 500 years, at least 500 years old. Mm-hmm. It's hard to roll down a hill for 500 years and think you just run back up it.
Which I think, Linda, goes to your point. You're like,
but also in response, I think the courts are gonna stand up and obviously, and they already have started doing.
Trump is going to ignore the courts, Linda. Issues. He's already said that he's going to ignore the courts. He ain't even thinking about the courts.
He doesn't have a choice.
Oh,
we have three branches of government. Trust me, the Supreme Court's rules. Nothing was more unpopular than integration, and it was very, very clear that when the courts speak, that's the way it's going to be. So I think that we're going to get back on track. As I said, I think we just swung.
Trump is not Eisenhower, Linda. Trump is a gangster, and he has a gangster mentality.
He won't be the first one to go down.
The courts told him to lead to turn them planes around. And they left after the courts passed the
and there was a question
the
about
decision, huh?
Whether or not, first of all, the court does speak through its written orders. Now that's the truth.
But you ain't got to. If you're the executive, you don't have to execute what the court says.
Listen to me. What you say on the record is not an order until it's in writing and signed. That's the truth.
The courts told Andrew Jackson to leave Mississippi to the Indians, and what did he do? The Trail of Tears. The executive don't have to listen to the courts as long as they believe they get the army behind them.
No.
And that's how this works.
That's how it works everywhere in the world except here.
Oh, Linda. No, bless your heart.
No, honey. No.
Bless your heart.
He's not even that. Even Trump is not that crazy. And the people who work with him aren't that crazy. We're not going to give up the republic or the governance of the republic the way the Constitution prevails. I mean, they may do some dumb stuff under it, but not that. Trust me.
What did he say, Leonard, to the judge that ruled against him the other day?
He said, "I want to impeach you," which is totally meaningless. It's a passionate statement that's ignorant. It was
not after they sent the FBI after this judge, Linda, which is what's going to happen.
He flew the people out of here anyway.
He didn't have an order. The Justice Department said they did not. I'm not making this up. Okay. You're not divorced, Santita, until you get the written judgment. Believe me, anything the court says while you're standing there is irrelevant until it's put in writing and signed. There is no such thing as a court order without a writing. Okay. Just like there is no such thing as a bill that or a law that does not have the proper endorsements on it. Till it's endorsed, it doesn't exist. That's the law everywhere in the world. We don't rule orally. The ruling is in writing.
Okay. Dwight, your response?
Executives, by definition, execute the law. And so it really don't become a law till they buy into it.
No.
If there's nobody to enforce the law, it's a opinion, it's a notion.
The executive has to enforce the law that the people have drafted and that has been approved.
No, it's a bill. Until they enforce it, it's a bill.
It doesn't matter about what
it don't become a law until they enforce it. And if executives are talking about we are not gonna honor that law, then unless he got an army behind him or another army, then the law is just a concept. That's why I use Andrew Jackson. The Supreme Court told Andrew Jackson, don't invade the South. Don't invade the South. The Supreme Court told him that. He said, I don't give a damn what they say. And took 5 states. It is a matter of who has the military and the guns.
It's a matter of who's going to obey the law.
Wait a minute. I got Chaparral here. She got, I guess it just got too good for you, Chaparral.
Hi,
yes, Santita.
Good to see you.
Okay. Well, what happened, everybody? You know, Chaparral helps me to pull this show together every day. What is on your mind, Chaparral?
Santita, I just had to jump in here because I'm listening to Linda, and Linda know I love her. But I'm like, they are still in El Salvador today. Even after, but we don't even know who's there. We have no list.
Why don't we care? Why are we spending this much time on this?
It could be Americans down there, Linda.
Yeah. They're not Americans.
No, they could.
You don't know. You don't know who he gathered. I don't believe Trump know who he got. That's why he hasn't given the list.
They are not Americans.
He rounded up people. Well, I heard today that there are some people who are naturalized and who are legally here in the United States who got rounded up. And they are not in gangs, and they don't have any gang history. So I have a problem with you just picking up people.
I don't care if they're not in gangs. If they're illegal coming into the country, like if you go into any other country and you don't have the paperwork to be there, you are there illegally and you can be deported.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Linda. These are actual naturalized citizens.
I don't believe that. And Chappelle, don't believe that. Trust me, if they were a citizen, they have all their rights, just like that boy down there in the Dominican Republic who they were looking at, who thought he had something to do with that.
Well, let's just look at Mr. Mahmoud Khalil. So you agree with Mahmoud Khalil being picked up out of his home and taken somewhere?
No, I do not. And I think it's wrong that they took him to New Orleans. And
so you think that if they do Mr. Khalil like that, you didn't think that they put a whole plane full of people that could be citizens or residents?
No.
They absolutely they don't care. They do not care.
What happened to Khalil is based on the advocacy that he was demonstrating at Columbia University, which they have wrongfully, I might add, stated was like the support of Hamas. He was not supporting Hamas. I don't believe that. And there's nothing to prove that he has. That's just the allegation.
But he's still held captive today. He's still in custody.
You know how many black folks in jail right now because of false charges? There are false charges all the time. All you can do is try to work it back through the system.
But that's what I'm saying. Who has the money to help him? Who has the money to help him? Because when you talk about going against the United States, you're talking about you have to be a millionaire to fight.
Let me tell you what they said on the news. They said that 25 billion or whatever that they were going to take from the government was going to take from Colombia, Qatar will give it back within 24 hours. There are lots of power centers in the world and money centers in the world. They said Qatar will give it right back to them. They're not even worried about what they don't get from the United States government. There are, and that's what needs to happen with this young man. He needs a great defense team. And I really do think, quite frankly, that we should demonstrate over this, black people and white folks and everyone. I mean that. Because that was just wrong. What they've done with him is wrong.
But what I'm saying, Linda, to you is that this is
He's coming back to New Jersey for his trial.
This is the example of how they are lawless and they don't care about what is right. They're going to do whatever it is that they
Well,
decide is in their benefit. And,
it's what we think is right.
and I know that you don't care about the people who have been kidnapped, because that's what happened. They kidnapped them, put all these people on planes. They have kidnapped these people.
If
but
they can't prove you're a citizen, you gotta go.
Listen, Linda, they have families, they have children, and they have loved ones. So I understand what they're experiencing right now, when all those people being kidnapped and taken to El Salvador. That's how it felt when we was kidnapped and taken to America.
That is not how we felt.
They came
into this country.
We were taken without our free will. We were taken without free will. It was not our will to come here.
Wait a minute. These people walked in our country. We say bye. We've already told them, go back to your country and come back legally if you want to. But if you don't do that, you're going to get picked up.
Linda, he has not provided proof that any of these people are here illegally. He has not given any proof, that he has not even given the list of the name of people who he has taken.
He hasn't given it to us. Pearl, if you're in France and you don't have a visa, you're illegal.
If it's all above board, why not give the list? Why not give the list?
And Linda, everybody here is here illegally.
Oh God, no! I can't deal with that. Dwight,
no, you have to deal with that.
400 years.
You have to deal with that.
Linda, you do have to deal with that. Hold on, everybody. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. Okay. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota, the Santita Jackson Show. Dwight, you were saying, Linda said that, what did you say, Linda? And I wanted you to respond.
I'm not dealing with what happened 400 or 500 years ago. I'm in the present. This is a new century, a new paradigm. Countries all over the world restrict who can come in their country, and they restrict their citizenship to their nationals. And we're doing the same thing.
Linda, they taking back Panama now.
Dwight, we should.
Panama now. No. You want to talk about now?
Dwight,
they're taking back Panama now. Panama was created because Guatemala wasn't going to get America the land.
Wait a minute.
So they overthrew Guatemala and created Panama.
I don't want China in controlling the Panama.
And that was this century.
Take it back. Take it tomorrow.
Linda, you got to come forward so we can hear you, honey.
Take it tomorrow. If China's going to control the entrance and the exit, it was our money, our stuff. Carter gave it to them thinking they were going to do the right thing. Obviously, they're not going to do the right thing. Take it back. It's just that simple.
They took it in the first place. It wasn't no take it back. They took it in the first place.
We built the canal. When you build the infrastructure,
that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
All right. Okay.
No, the Panamanians and the Guatemalans, the South Americans built the canal.
They built it.
We sent some workers down there, but the majority of those workers were indigenous.
It had to do with who was paying the bill. He who makes the goal makes the rules. He who pays the bill makes the rules. This is common sense. I don't know why it's a matter of controversy. And if you're gonna set up my enemies in my hemisphere, incidentally, there is a doctrine that says you cannot have communist facilities in this hemisphere. You have to keep them over there where they are now. And quite frankly, more than the Panama Canal, I'm more concerned about that huge base. That huge base that they built in Chile for Chinese tankers.
Monroe wrote that doctrine.
Yeah, and Linda,
Monroe wrote that doctrine from Washington. Nobody in South America signed off on that.
Nobody.
How do you have the right to decide who can go into somebody else's country if they're an independent country? How much hubris is that?
Well, how much
for Monroe to say nobody can come down to Brazil unless we sign off on it? Linda, you living in a different world than we're living in.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. I understand the threats to this country. And I understand that having a monster military base down there, bigger than anything we have in Virginia, in Chile, is it Chile? Yeah. That's on the other side of the continent, is a major threat to us. When we stopped Khrushchev from even coming into Cuba, because we were not going to have communism in this hemisphere.
No, we don't care about communism. Our bankers are communists.
Russia.
No, China. And they're not even communists anymore.
They are totally.
I mean, and our best
the
friends,
Chinese Communist
our best
Party,
friends
the
are
CCP.
and they have that. We got American. You got a Communist Party here too, and our best friends are socialists. The British. We don't care about that. We don't care about any of that.
Okay.
What is your problem with communism? Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares. You have a capitalist system that doesn't even function. What you have is a rigged system that works for a few people, and everybody, the rest of us, are peonage and slaves.
And China has a rigged system too. You just talked about them.
No. But I'm saying, so don't talk about theirs. Look, we got a splinter in our eye while we look at the log in theirs. Girl, get on out of here.
Well,
really,
I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American.
I am. Oh, don't you pull that on me. I'm proud to be an American too, but
we have our problems.
And because I am proud to be an American, I will call America out on where America is wrong.
I agree with that.
Now, I mean, you're supposed to be able to call America out on being wrong.
That's right.
Killing all these indigenous people, wrong. How they treated us in slavery, wrong.
Well, as long as we keep giving away all our money, Santita, to everybody but an American, Black Americans are going to continue to sink. Sweetie,
we're not giving away anything. There are no free lunches. We are taking. We want Ukraine because they don't have GMO seeds in their soil, so the soil can still be used. We manufacture what people not even asking about. Bill Gates is all these GMO seeds they just putting all over the world, so he can make your soil infertile, and you'll be dependent upon Ukraine and all these other broke countries, because that's what happens with GMO seeds. GMO seeds destroy the fertile soil.
Okay, thank you. Tell me, teach.
Oh yeah. And you know what? And Michael, Linda's not stealing the show with her MAGA Republican rhetoric. Linda has every right to believe what she believes.
It's not MAGA Republican.
Let me just say this. Even as we disagree, she has the right, y'all, to believe as she believes. We need to stop that. At the end of the day, we all need each other.
That's right.
I hear you, Michael, but this is not an echo chamber. I don't believe in that. And baby, I hear you, but I'm not doing that. And I don't want to do that here. I just happen to disagree with her on a lot of things. Not on everything, but on most everything. But
there's two sides to every story. You're right.
She has a right to be here. Let's stop doing that, because people are far more nuanced. And I tell you what, Rush was right. More black people did vote for Trump. Now, I mean, the majority of black people who voted for Kamala and voted for black men and black women. But the fact is, he peeled off a lot of black votes. That's a fact. He peeled off a whole lot of Latino votes. That's a fact. And if people were smart, they'd ask why it is. What is it that people found to be appealing? You know, and I know you believe that, Michael. I know you believe she has the right. She does.
They rejected the Democratic agenda. That's what occurred.
Well, do you think that's what happened, Chaparral, Dwight? Somebody help me.
Charles White? I'm sorry, I don't understand.
No, do you think that's what happened?
I don't think the Democrats had an agenda. That was the problem.
What, Dwight?
I don't think the Democrats had an agenda.
That's correct.
That was the problem.
No, it was all vagina politics.
Thank you.
And giggles and mumbles.
Now we don't have to get let's restrain.
Oh, abortion.
Let's restrain ourselves here. Okay. Personal politics. We don't
nothing to do with the country.
Name body part. Thank you. But it was the thing is, people are not comfortable. People are in a lot of pain. And somebody needs to pay attention to that. Now, I will say that. So,
That's absolutely true.
People are in a lot of pain. Now, the question is, how are we going to get out of this mess? Because we got a mess. We do.
Well, I think the dust is settling right now. I think we got to wait a little bit, Santita, to see how the dust is really going to settle. I mean, there's been a lot of controversial things there. I mean, America has gotten so far off track. I mean, I don't want to go to work anymore, so I'm just going to work. No. If I have office buildings, I have space. There's more synergy when people work together, when they're one-on-one. There's certainly mentorships and everything that are built based on being together on a project or as a team, even in the Army and everything else. I mean, but now we're like, oh no, I mean, I can do my job on my phone, or I can use my my laptop or whatever. Bottom line is that we want to shift back to where America was great. We were really building and doing things.
Linda,
people who work
Yes.
from home are caring
Linda,
for
white
children.
white businessmen run their companies from yachts. They live on a yacht, sail the seas, and they run their company from yachts.
Then Dwight, who's in the Chase headquarters in New York? Why is Chase the largest bank in the world? Why do they have all the more employees than any other bank? And those employees work in the bank.
Because Rockefeller was able to steal all that money and send all these other companies out of business. Coming in.
All of us should just stay in the bed and use our laptop.
I gotta go, you all.
Well, I love you, Dwight.
All right.
Chaparral, do you have anything else you would like to say before we all begin to close this out?
I think it's been a very spirited conversation. I appreciate Linda's perspective. And even though we disagree, Linda, but I think that you, like Santita was saying, you have the right to feel the way that you do. I just hope that we don't regret this. Because I think that a lot of pain and a lot of suffering is coming. And unfortunately, Black people and brown people are going to be the brunt of all of those hits. And so when I talk to people all the time, I say we're going to feel the pain. So just embrace it. So when I come over there to Detroit to come sleep with you, just get my room ready. Get my room ready.
I can't wait to see you. But Chaparral, we have become so sympathetic.
She's got a dozen people. She's got a dozen people coming with her, Linda. I don't know if you really want that.
Right, Santi.
All I can tell you is I don't know if we just been we're always taking up for saying, never holding people accountable for their own circumstances and what they're doing. They walked into this country with no money. So why am I supposed to pay for them? But why are you supposed to pay for them?
No, but because that's not how it happened. These people were brought into this country. They were sucked into this country because we are no, stop it, Linda.
I know what you're getting ready to say.
No, because we knew Chavez.
About the tenant agreement.
No. What I'm saying is, wait. Ain't nobody. A third of a population does not just leave their country. They get pushed out of their country because we're trying to steal their resources. I have traveled with Reverend all around this world, and we will get into countries, and you will be surprised to see these captains of industry who are installed in Argentina, who are installed in Brazil, who are installed in Venezuela, who are installed all over the world. And they want to see Reverend because when these folks have a revolution, the people say, you know what? I want a new deal. I don't want these companies, the oil companies, Standard Oil, everybody else to come in and take all of my stuff. And then you know what they want to do? They still want to operate under the same rules. So Castro told Chavez, hey, be careful what you eat because germ warfare is real. I don't want anything to happen to you. About 4 or 5 or 6 of the most progressive leaders in South and Central America got the same virulent strain of cancer at the same time. And everybody went, when you got down there, they said, what is this? These people are desperate because we want their oil, Linda. Who in the devil wants to come to Chicago? You leave old sunny, beautiful Venezuela and you come to Chicago where it's cold and you know you're dealing with
because
hostility.
they give free money, free
No,
food, free
baby.
everything.
No,
Do you
no,
know
no.
that many of
It's
these people who
because they have been locked out of their own countries, Linda. Stop it. America ain't that great. It ain't that great for you and me.
Watch their interviews. The people who have gone, they have sent enough money home
I
based
have
on our
talked to them.
welfare. I watched the guy hold up a little 6-month-old baby.
Because what Linda,
this
what is happening
will give me enough money for the next 18 years.
Linda, because
That's
what
what he
they
said.
know, Linda, because what's happening in their countries, we are trying to rob these countries blind. That is what is happening.
I can't talk about what international business deals
No.
are.
I already know
about
because I know the people.
To my people,
I know the people, and I study it.
I know that.
No. Well, then listen.
I am.
Because you are sounding like, my goodness.
And you're sounding like American money grows on trees. I want this money invested in Black Americans and white Americans and Hispanic Americans.
You're missing me. You're missing me because I'm from the school where I believe that America should create a floor beneath which no human being should fall. I think everybody deserves that money. What I'm talking to you about is how we are trying to overthrow a legitimate government in Venezuela and in other countries because we want to steal their resources from them. And we have made life for them untenable in their countries, which is why they come here. They have inflation that is unimaginable. They cannot afford to live there. And you know what we want to do? The 10th Partnership for Refugees, which I keep giving you, which you will not read, they want to bring people here so that we can get them to work for cheap. And then what Trump wants to do is send them back when they are out of season and then bring them back when we can use them for another season. And I thought you were against slavery. You ought to be.
People make choices. If they decide to come up here and work on farms, they're fine. It's their choice.
Did we choose to be here? Did we choose to be here, Linda?
Yes, we ain't chose to be nowhere else.
In America,
we all have legs. We all got a credit card. We can go where we want to go.
Linda, you mean Black folks? You mean on that auction block? We chose to be here.
I'm not talking about.
Oh no, sweetie. I'm talking about that part. Because we can't get from here.
That's like
we talk about the
white only signs. I'm not talking. That's irrelevant now.
No.
In this day and age, that's all irrelevant.
That's how we got here.
I got that part.
No, really? I think you forgotten that part.
No.
That's what it sounded like to me.
And 60 years ago, it was white only signs. I got that part. I understand. We're not talking about that now. We're talking about an invasion of this country.
These people
by people who are dependents.
You act like these people are not indigenous people. They're indigenous people who speak Spanish. They speak the Spanish of they are not Spanish people. They're indigenous people. They're as Spanish as I am English. I speak English because it's the language of my conqueror. They speak Spanish because that's the language of their conquerors. These are indigenous people who are indigenous to the hemisphere, which we are not.
They are indigenous to another country.
They are
Germans are too.
These people used to float up and down the hemisphere, sweetheart, not us. We were brought across an ocean.
We're in an age now where we're getting ready to go to Mars. Whole different ball game. I can't go backwards, Santita. And I can't ignore the needs of American Black kids and poor white kids.
I'm not saying that. I have said
I want our resources invested in them.
I come from the King School, and they called Dr. King a communist because he said we need to create a floor beneath which no human being can fall. And when you say that, you say, wait a minute, you're trying to disincentivize work. You don't want people to work. You just want to give them things. No, I just think that as my pastor, Reverend Clay Evans, said, that God has never made a mouth that he could not feed. God never gives you a vision without making provision. We are visions of God, and God has made provisions for all of us. You got a lot of greedy people who've taken most of the resources and they've left nothing for everybody else. So you can call me whatever, you can label me ideologically, whatever it is that you want to label me. I think that if you give money to these people who are coming into the country, good for them. But you need to give it to the people in the United States of America. There is no reason in this world that anyone should be poor. No reason. It's a sin before God, and we are all going to pay for it. None of the earth belongs to us. It belongs to God. We're stewards over it, and we will have hell to pay for how we treat the least of these. Jesus said, that which you've done unto the least of these, you've also done unto me. And I am not going to kick down any of God's children. I won't do it.
The least of these are in my community.
I won't do it.
And God, God bless the guy who's got his own.
I won't do it. Carol agrees with me. Carol agrees with me. She's not even Christian. You don't have to be Christian. You just have to be human and humane. I'm not going to do that to anybody. I'm sick. Why does Bill Gates deserve? He doesn't deserve all land. He's just buying it all up. Why is he making GMO seeds, GMO foods that kill me, that give me cancer? Who has seedless fruit? What kind of freakish food is that? That's ungodly. Everything God gives you reproduces. This is crazy. And we need to understand that we're being gamed here. We're being gamed. Why does this man own so much of the farmland, pushing people who actually work the land off the land? That's not right. It's not right. So I'm not going to take food out of one of God's children's mouths. I ain't going to do it. But I tell you what, I want to challenge my government. While you're building a bomb, give somebody some bread. How about that part? They can do that if they would do that. They could if they would, and they should. But they won't, and they will pay. It's ungodly. Yeah. It's ungodly what we're doing. It's ungodly. Ungodly. And I'm too old to do anything that God of which God will disapprove. I'm not going to do it.
Me either.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take food out of somebody's mouth. I'm not going to tell some woman whose language I don't really understand. I'm not going to treat her unkindly. The Good Samaritan taught me that. My parents' car stopped in segregated America. My mother was pregnant with my brother Jesse, and I was sitting in her lap. I was barely a year old. And some white couple just came on down and gave my parents a place to stay for 2 days. Fixed their car. Their parents couldn't send them any money. Fixed their car, fixed us some sandwiches, filled up their car with gas, and sent us on our way. God has been too gracious to me and to the people I love for me to be unkind to anybody. I ain't going to do that.
I agree with that.
I'm not going to do that.
And I've never been unkind to anybody.
I'm going to look at all these. I know you're not, because
I'm too kind.
So
are you.
I know you're a kind person. When I'm looking at all these wicked people who talk about useless eaters and useless people at the World Economic Forum, I'm not with it.
Oh, I don't do that.
You're right, Michael. It's satanic. And I am not going to do anything with the devil but beat him. I rebuke him in the name of Jesus. I'm done with it. So, Linda,
I rebuke him in the name of Jesus as well.
I do. Now, so what I want is something else. Now, I want that which is godly. That's all I want. And I know everybody deserves to eat. Everybody deserves decent clothing, food, shelter, and an opportunity to be educated. Everybody deserves to be able to keep their home. And if they want to go someplace else, they ought to be able to do that. That ought to happen. That ought to happen. Hey, Effie, I said I love you, Effie Rolfe. That ought to happen. We just need to get a clean heart so we can serve thee. All this wickedness, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the wickedness. I'm tired of the evil. I'm tired of it. Tired of it. Tired of it. And I'm not going to sign on to it, Linda. And I know
I'm not either. I'm not either.
I know you
I'm
are.
not either.
I know what a good person.
But American children are poor. American children children need food and clothes.
It's not a but. It's an
and I want to take care of Americans first. Just like your daddy. Wait a minute. Your father's first priority was your mother and his children.
No.
Our first priority has to be our people and our children.
No, that ain't true. My father's first priority was his ministry and taking care of people. Now, my father and mother made sure that we ate, but my father gave his money to the movement. All of us earned full scholarships to college. My mother said, please take that off us. No. My father made money, but he gave it away.
Yep.
Because that is in his heart. That's his ministry. I got it.
But he took care of his family first.
No. What? No. My father, he was not going to let us starve. But I grew up in a neighborhood with kids who parents did very, very well. But my father did explain to us why we didn't have luxury cars. He said, no, that ain't my point. No. And my father was not going to let his children starve. No, but he wasn't going to let other kids starve either, because there are a lot of people who stayed in our house with us.
I understand. There should be
So,
no
so
starving.
I'm just saying it is not, but take care of these people first. We're all God's children. And there's more than enough money in this country to take care of everybody who comes to this country.
No.
But we have to know it is.
No, there isn't.
We know it is. Because we print money. We can do that. But what we've decided to do is take care of some people. These folks don't care about anybody. They send these poor white folks down into the mines today, and they're all dying of black lung disease. These are mean people. They're mean. You have people who are urinating, defecating, drinking, and bathing in the same body of water in America today. That's a sin.
I agree.
That's a sin. It shouldn't happen in America. And
I
it
would
only
agree.
happens in America because you have these greedy people in America who don't want to share with Americans. How can you say you love America and you don't like Americans? These people, honey, this is just ungodly. I ain't going to play that. Everybody, my pastor said to me, I've never seen God make a mouth he can't feed.
I heard you say
And
that.
everybody here, everybody who comes here can be fed. Everybody who was ever born on this earth except Jesus has been buried. That's the genius of God. There's enough space for everybody all the time. So let's feed everybody. Otherwise, you're evil and you're signing up for evil. There's evil. And there's something called evil, and I'm not with it. I love you, Linda.
I love you more.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do love my sister.
I do. I do.
And I love you,
Yes,
Chappelle. Chappelle's been shockingly quiet. I don't know why, but okay, I'll take it.
I'm listening to that Santita rant, and I love it.
Oh, girl, I'm tired of it. Goodbye, Chappelle. I'm done with her. If she likes to hear me rant, she likes to hear me go off, but it's true. And I will tell you, we have got to grow up in our politics, and we have to grow up spiritually. You shouldn't be unkind to anyone. You might have your revenge.
I agree with that. I agree with everything you said.
I'm not accusing you of anything.
I'm speaking.
I
mean, I gave 16 years of my life to low-income people providing free legal services.
And
There's no question about that.
My heart breaks for the people. When I've been
Americans first.
For
me.
I'm not going to say Americans only.
I didn't say only. I said first.
No. What I'm saying is, there's enough in America. God has blessed us so abundantly.
You are my people. Americans are our people.
I will finish.
I don't put nobody else ahead of us.
I will finish because America's taken from the world, starting with
and so has every empire.
No. I don't care about that. And they're not right. Jesus came here to fight the power, to fight an empire. Jesus lived under occupation and was fighting a Roman Empire that was trying to pimp him and his people too.
Jesus was a Jew. And it'd be interesting to see what he would do today.
And he was also Palestinian. And that having been
I didn't know that. They've never said that. The Bible completely says he's over and over and over.
No. You need to go over there and understand the history. That having been said, he was a Palestinian Jew who lived under the occupation of the biggest empire in the world at the time, Rome.
Oh, really?
Yes.
He has never been referred. I've never heard him referred to as a
I have, because I've been to enough.
Thank you for telling me that. I'm going to start using it. I did not know that.
No. If you don't believe it, just study the history of the Bible. Get this book, The Politics of Jesus by Dr. Obery Hendricks, and you'll understand him. Jesus would not pull mouth out of anybody's pull food out of anyone's mouth.
Okay.
And so I'm saying to you, God has blessed this country with the richest country in the history of the world. We have more than enough for everybody. So feed everybody.
Then why is there poverty and ignorance?
Because that's been my point all along. Because people are greedy. They're not needy, they're greedy. Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr. said, God will supply your every need, not your every greed. People are greedy. And you know what? Jesus is coming back, and Jesus is going to hold everybody to account. It ain't right. And if I get home, hopefully to be with my Lord before that happens, I hope God knows that I was on God's side and I was not going to take food out of any baby's mouth. I don't care where they came from.
That's
I
okay.
don't
I
care.
can send them some food where they are. I'm not,
And
I'll
and
stop. I'm
and,
just
and
teasing you.
Robert, you don't
I'm
have to
just
do that. You
teasing.
don't have to. Don't. Yeah, you don't have to do that.
I had to get you with that one.
No, what did you say?
No, I said I'll send them some food where they are. That's my point.
Well, yeah, but you know, and if you did, and first of all, they don't need your food. All they need is to be left alone, so that they can enjoy their resources. Look at what we did to Gaddafi.
Well,
No, because that's what we do. He had the second or the third largest repository of gold in the world. He had eliminated poverty in his country. And because he has the richest oil in the world.
So has Qatar.
No,
all those countries, all the Arab countries.
The most high quality oil in the country, in the world, is in Libya. Okay. And we wanted it. And we wanted his gold. And we killed him. And we raped him with a machete because he wanted to pull Africa together. Oh yeah, we did. We did it. It's evil. It's evil. Mm-hmm. Enough.
That was evil. Totally.
It is,
evil.
And it is evil. And we killed
African countries to unite.
And we killed his daughter along the way, by the way. Mm-hmm. So enough. No, I'm not. Wherever there's wrong, I'm not going to be in it. If I'm going to be with God, and that's it. And you're right, correctional officer for the lockdown. You're right, and it was wrong.
I agree with that.
And America will not stand. America will not be blessed until America decides to be a blessing. That's how that works. God bless America. Will America bless God and be good?
That's Amen. It. And on that,
I love you.
Say good night to you, ladies.
I love you, Linda.
I love you more.
I love you,
Chappelle. I love you.
I can't
love you, folks.
I appreciate so much what you're doing and with helping Santita. You just have been the best friend as long as I've known you.
She's frankly. A really hard person to get along with, but I love Chappelle. I love her.
I have an eye infection. I'm sorry. I look terrible. Don't look.
No, you don't. You look fabulous. I love you, and I love y'all. I'm gonna go.
Bye, honeys.
Love you.
Bye. Bye, SW and SJ.
Love you.
Bye-bye.